The Colts have fired head coach Frank Reich after 5 years with the team and replaced him with Jeff Saturday. I'm Jake with Sports Around the Bar, and today we're going to be talking about if this was a good move for Indianapolis. Well, the short answer is no, because when you look at his offensive production, again, Frank Reich came from the Philadelphia Eagles, and before that, the San Diego Chargers, back when they were still San Diego, as an offensive mind and an offensive coordinator, the guy that has been in charge of putting points up on the board. And when you look at Indianapolis, not just the quarterback carousel that they've had, but offensively, in terms of points, they've done just that. Take a look at this list here. When we're talking about in 2018, they scored the 5th most points out of any team in the league. Now, granted, it was with Andrew Luck. But even with the quarterback carousel going on, they never really dropped below that 16th rank with Jacoby Brissett that they saw in 2019. They finished 9th in 2020 with Phillip Rivers. They finished 9th in scoring in 2021 with Carson Wentz. And now this year, obviously, they dropped to 32nd when things have kind of fallen apart. Now, can you go out and blame Frank Reich for everything falling apart on him? I don't think so. I think when you look at the composition of the team, one thing they have done particularly well since he's been there is run the football, and this offensive line has disintegrated around Reich. You can't really blame him for those sort of shortcomings of the team. Now, if you wanted to point the finger at someone, I think you could point it at Chris Ballard, a guy that, again, has made a lot of moves that I've kind of agreed with, so I think I'd be on the hot seat too if I was the GM. But when you look at what Indianapolis has done and what has been provided to Reich this season, it's simply not enough. I think you have to look at it and say, eventually, we're going to take this big step back. And to fire him because of the offensive production, I think realistically is just a factor of Jim Irsay kind of throwing a temper tantrum. I think, again, he kind of got used to life under Peyton Manning, and I know they had that 1 year with Curtis Painter, but after that, they jumped right back into it with Andrew Luck. The good times, so to speak, are over in Indianapolis, at least for right now, until they can go out and find a franchise quarterback. They have kind of neglected to take that step back and say, we're going to try to draft a guy for the future, and instead of kind of trying to patch holes in the bottom of a sinking ship, the problem is bringing in all of these washed-up veterans. I don't necessarily, washed up might be a little rude, but bringing in these veterans that are leaving current positions and moving out, trying to revitalize their careers. It's just, you can't count on your coach to be a quarterback rehab center. There's no way that you can say Frank Reich didn't do his job in terms of having this team scoring points over the past few years. Now, they might have fallen short when you talk about record-wise, only having a .547 win percentage. That is sort of a shortcoming for Reich. You can say that maybe when you talk about the points they've had, as well as their defensive rankings, that they should have won more games. But still, this is a team that has been competitive under Reich, even under in situations where they haven't had the best offenses, they haven't had the best players on this roster, and they have not had the quarterback, which is the most important position. Couple all of that with the fact they're bringing in first-time head coach, first-time coach of any level, Jeff Saturday. This really feels like Irsay is just kind of, picking favorites and going back to old-time, buddies from the team. Right now, when you look at his coaching resume, Jeff Saturday has been the head coach of Hebron Christian Academy since 2017 through 2020. That's it. That's all he's got on the record. So, again, you're kind of setting Jeff Saturday up for failure in this situation where he's immediately being thrust into a role that he has never had any sort of, experience with, and you're really kind of giving Frank Reich the shaft. So, not in love with this move. I really do believe it's kind of an error in management in Indianapolis. We'll get to see how it turns out for the rest of the season, whether Matt Ryan gets to come back and play, even though they said it's been Sam Ehlinger's sort of job to lose at this point going forward. For me, I think this is a impulsive move for the Colts. I think it's a terrible move. I think it's going to set the franchise back, and this is going to be a franchise now that has to bottom out and really just hit the bottom level of the standings so that they can go and draft a quarterback, and hopefully their next head coach hire is as good as I think Frank Reich was for them in the past.